For my garbage person of the week, I've got a fun one. Dana Perino. Don't know if she's ever been my garbage person before, but she decided to launch an attack against clean energy. She's gonna try to make a logical case against it. Here's what she had to say.
When these wind turbines, when the blades end their life, their useful life, when they go into a landfill, they do not disintegrate. You cannot recycle them. They will be there forever. So I think that there's just a misunderstanding of just how really green these are.
Well, that's right. There's no painless way to get energy. I mean, every energy source has a downside, period, whether it's nuclear, hydro, coal plants, natural gas. It doesn't matter. They all have a downside. Energy is not free. It never will be. But the downside from wind farms so far exceeds their upside.
Okay, so I apologize. You did get a bonus garbage person there, and I'll address what Tucker Carlson had to say. But her first point was, it's not green because you can't recycle the blades. And bear in mind, they really care about recycling in the same way that they really care about women's high school sports. It's not just a political thing that they're using, they really care about it. And so, look, she's not 100% wrong. Bloomberg Green reported earlier this year that wind turbine blades being disposed of in landfills, that does actually happen. Even though the waste stream represents only a tiny fraction of US municipal solid waste, it's clearly not an ideal situation, and that is true. And so right now, some of those blades do get thrown away. Unlike old coal plants, those get turned into rumpus rooms and things like that. All of that is reusable. The machinery they use to dig out coal, the oil derricks, all of that totally reusable. They turn it into textbooks later on. You'll notice they didn't actually apply that logic to the dirty energy, just to the turbines. But I want to reassure you that there is progress being made in this. Two large utilities in the US, Pacific Corp and Mid-American Energy, are working with the Tennessee company Carbon Rivers to recycle some of the utilities' spent turbine blades. Europe has companies that are working on it as well. They have all these technologies that I don't even know how to pronounce that they're working on to eventually be able to recycle them. But again, they're not recycling all of the dirty stuff like, the oil tankers. Are they being turned into Royal Caribbean rides? Like the derricks out in the Gulf Coast, they're not turned into Club Med after. Like, why are we only talking about turbines with this? And by the way, I will point out to the second point that, well, if you can't recycle them, as Tucker Carlson says, then it's just as bad as everything. In fact, worse, the cons way outweigh the benefits because of the recycling. I will remind you, we've read this before. New research from Harvard University in collaboration with a bunch of others found that more than 8 million people died in 2018 alone from fossil fuel pollution. That means that air pollution for burning fossil fuels like coal and diesel were responsible for about 20% of all deaths on Earth in 2018. But you can't recycle the turbine blades, so you weigh the pros and cons on that, America. Brett, what do you think?
I think it's just the saddest part is the person who knew that, the saddest part is the person who knew that they needed something bad to say about windmills. They just hadn't gotten it yet. And they think that this is a really good burn. And Dana Perino said it. And then Tucker Carlson just like, absolutely true. He doesn't know if that's true. He has no clue if that's true. That is a tell from Tucker Carlson. Yes, that's true. When he doesn't care about it, he just believes the person on his show is there and he wants them to feel good and he wants the audience to feel like everything that's said by a guest is something that they should take straight to the bank. When the sad part is the only person taking stuff to the bank is Tucker Carlson.
That's true. Hey, the coal CEOs are doing pretty well too. But you're right. Okay, well, those are our garbage people, but who did you vote for? Well, 32,000 of you went and voted this week. And here are your top 5 community garbage people of the week. Coming in at number 5 with 4% of the vote is Jay Jacobs for comparing India Walton to David Duke. That was so bad. At number 4 with 8% of the vote is the New York subway officers for refusing to wear masks on the job and in fact booting people out if they ask them to wear masks. Number 3 with 12% of the vote is Mo Brooks for profiting off Pfizer while being anti-vax. I'm glad that that's at least in number 3. That was an important story. Number 2, you've got with 25% of the vote, Madison Cawthorn for telling moms to raise their sons to be monsters. Ugh. But number 1, oh no. With 51% of the vote, Tucker Carlson for turning Colin Powell's death into propaganda about literally everything. That is your community garbage person of the week. Thank you to everybody who voted.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.